Mabuhay! For today, I will be your tour guide here in San Agustin Church inside Intramuros. Let's go! As we all know that there are different churches here in Intramuros, but San Agustin Church is very famous and it's it is one of the oldest churches here in the Philippines. Are you ready to know new information about San Agustin Church? Right. Beyond being a place of worship, San Agustin Church is a masterpiece that every traveler looks forward to visiting in the city. San Agustin Church, built in 1595, officially known as the Church of the Immaculate Conception of San Agustin. This is the oldest church here in the Philippines. It has a remarkable features such as retablos or altars of high Baroque style and wall buttresses separating crypto-collateral chapels. What makes it unique is its IOL style ceiling paintings. The century-old bore witness to the 400 years of Spanish rule in the country. Many bombings and earthquakes have survived, and it's through numerous renovation, other influences have been incorporated, the Filipino and Chinese designs. Clearly, the church is witnessing the rises and the falls of the Philippines. The building of San Agustin Church in Manila started in 1571 and was only completed in 1607. As of writing, San Agustin Church is 413 years old now and making it to the oldest church in the Philippines. San Agustin Church Manila was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site or WHS in the 1993 under the Serial Declaration of the Baroque Churches of the Philippines. Together with the three churches in Paway, Ilocos Norte, Santa Maria, Ilocos Sur, and Miagao, Iloilo. The Baroque churches of the Philippines were included in the WHS list because these churches established a style of construction and design that was adapted to the physical condition of the Philippines. That had been an important influence on later churches' architecture in the region. The Baroque churches of the Philippines also represent a fusion of European churches and construction using local materials and decorative motifs to form a new tradition of church building. Two of the important church are its bamboo organ. Two of the important points of the church are its bamboo organ and its hidden mausoleum, which houses the remains of the Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. Now, I will tell you the history of San Agustin Church. The building of the church began in 1571 under the auspices of Augustinian order. Like many buildings during that time, the San Agustin Church was built with nipa and bamboo. In 1574, Manila was invaded by the Chinese pirate Limahong. The invasion led to the burning of the city, and the Church of San Agustin was among those burned. A year later, this led to the first reconstruction of the church. They used wooden materials, which are more prone to fire, to rebuild the church. True enough, in 1583, another fire caused the destruction of the church. In order to avoid the same mistake before, the Augustinian friars decided to rebuild the church using adobe stone. In 1586, Juan Masias was appointed to lead the design and construction of the church and was completed only in 1607. The new church structure endured even the strongest earthquake that was struck in Manila during the 16th to 17th century. Due to the church age more than 400 years, it has become a witness for many important events in the history of the Philippines during the Spanish period. In 1762, during the Seven Years' War, British forces ransacked the church. In 1898, the Church of San Agustin, Manila became a place for the Americans and Spaniards to discuss and sign the surrender of Manila to the Americans. During the Second World War, the Japanese forces turned the San Agustin Church, Manila into a concentration camp of prisoners. At the end of the 1945 Battle of Manila, the Japanese held hostage priests and hundreds of residents inside the church. In order to drive out the remaining Japanese, American and Filipino forces an air raid took place inside Intramuros. Lastly, I will show you the other things that we can see inside the church. The San Agustin Museum. This museum is right next to the church. It visually portrays Agustin's love for knowledge, architecture, religion, arts, music, science, medicine, and many more. Also, the various halls and chambers of what used to be monastery for the Augustinian friars have been transformed in the museum, showing what their lives are all about and what they have done. The next is the hallway. Past these are long and wide hallways with the enormous paintings depicting important events during the expedition and image of the saints. When you look at the other side of the hall, you'll find the Capice windows overlooking the quiet and peaceful prayer garden where the Augustinian friars usually meditate. Next is the escalera. If you pay attention as you walk up and down the stairs and the hallways, you'd notice that some of the paintings display also show that the plights of the Augustinian friars during the Barros expedition. Also, they show how some people and their preaching did not accept them. Next is the Botica. After exploring the first floor, we took the stairs and discovered that there were rooms on the second floor as well. One of them shows the love of Augustinians for medicine. In fact, it resembles a pharmacy where pots of medicinal plants, original lithographs of the Flora de Filipinas, and photographs of the famous Augustinian friars have made breakthrough in the field of science and medicine are on display. Next is the library that shows the love. Next is the library. The library shows that the friars' love for knowledge in the most stunning of all the rooms for me. Unlike the other rooms, the library is not open to the general public. Visitors can only admire and look at it through the tall, wide glass walls. Next is the library. The library shows that the friars' love for knowledge in the most stunning of all the rooms for me. Unlike the other rooms, the library is not open to the general public. Visitors can only admire and look at it through the tall, wide glass walls. Lastly, the antecoro. The chamber called antecoro shows that friars' loves of songs and music. The first thing you'll see here are the different choir books that have songs of the different sacraments and ceremonies. Also, this room leads to the choir of San Agustin Church with the classic lectern or fascistol that holds the cantorales of the choir book and the restored pipe organs of the 18th century.